Something that topped Killers of the Flower Moon today in running time was that wild
Oh boy.
Eagles-Bills game that we got. That, I mean, it's a season-changing game. I think obviously for Buffalo and what they're staring at in the AFC playoff race now, but also just the type of team that the Eagles are, their ability to kind of fight through some of these mucky games, which you've consistently seen from them. Where do you want to start with Bills-Eagles? When you think back on this game in May, as we're thinking about what it meant in the NFL season, where do you think you'll land?
Oh man, I think Josh Allen's performance and actually how the Eagles offense performed in the second half. I think they really came together. It was a tale of two halves and a tale of two RPOs. That was kind of how this game went for the Eagles. It was their RPOs were like what is such a huge plus in this offense. What carries them for a lot of stretches and where they go was kind of like a hindrance to them. The interception was a RPO that went wrong. The fumble was the botched handoff was an RPO that went wrong. But then the second half, they kind of separated it, and the Eagles ran some straight run plays. I
Mhm.
would say the first play of the second drive of the second half, yes, I nailed that, was just a straight run play, and DeAndre Swift went just gone because they're just taking away from, okay, hey, Kurt Hurts, we have juicy run looks. This is what Mahomes had to go through. This is what Josh Allen had to go through. All these guys that use RPOs, they had to learn. Hey, let's just hand it off.
Especially when
Those
it's
are.
wet. You're just asking it
Oh
for trouble with
yeah,
all the ball handling questions. I'm totally with you, and the
yeah,
numbers bear it out. So, in the first half in this game, they averaged 3.8 yards per play. In the
yeah,
second half, it was 6.8 yards per play.
yeah,
And the juicy run looks are the best place to start. That run to Swift at the beginning of the second half, I think,
yep,
really signaled a change in what they were going to try to do because the looks were there the entire game. We'll get to what Jordan Mailata said on the quarterback draw there at the end when they won the game. But even before that, I was shocked at the amount of light boxes that
mhm,
the Bills were playing in this game. On first down in this game, the Bills had 6 or fewer guys in the box on 72% of the Eagles snaps. Just for context, no team in the league is above 56% on the season. So they were daring them to run the ball, which
yeah,
makes the first drive with the 3 straight dropbacks so problematic. But as soon as they committed to running the ball and then play action, those were the two things.
yep,
Running, play action, all their big plays in the second half. I can't think of a single straight drop back, maybe outside of the 3rd and 15 chuck to OZ. But
mhm.
on first and second down, fake screen to Devontae Smith, play action crosser to Devontae Smith. They were just hammering them on runs and play actions throughout, and it was the right way to go about it. It changed the entire complexion of the game.
Yeah, they had to do it because the first half it wasn't working, and it was just really some just misread plays. That's what it is. Though they like to read it RPO or just their run game, and just sometimes Jalen Hurts got fooled, or he was just kind of assuming some things, or he was just really in the first drive. The first play of the second half, they ran an RPO, and he just doesn't throw the slant to AJ Brown, and I thought that he just battled back, of course, as the game went along, but even when they did the RPOs, then he read them correctly. They hit a slide to Stoll in the red zone that went to a nice play, and then the AJ Brown touchdown was also an RPO, which was a
I
nice.
love that play.
Yeah,
I saw, like, I remember, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to credit who it was, but it was a well followed high school coach who does a lot of scheme stuff, and they were calling it a pick and roll RPO.
nice.
Essentially, AJ Brown kind of sets a pick for the tight end coming across, but then he rolls back to the
Yeah,
quarterback, it's beautiful the way it unfolds. But that's another great example where it's all based around the run game, even the ways they were throwing the ball in the second half.
yeah. And the Colts ran that a ton today too. That exact same combo. So and we used to run it with a sprint out on shovel because we stole from Norv Turner too. So it's how funny how Norv Turner's stuff just gets matriculates down into what we see what the Eagles are doing today in the red zone. But it works for touchdowns. Yeah, the Devontae Smith touchdown. They ran the exact same formation. AJ Brown number 3, Devontae Smith in number 2, 1-by-3 formation. This one they put Devontae Smith in a little short motion outwards, and then they just run a bubble pump. Earlier in that
Mhm.
drive, they ran a zone bubble, but again, Jalen Hurts gave the ball and they got about 6-7 yards on it. So again, they just made it give reads and they were just telling them just hand it off and it's going to work out okay. There's some disjointed play calling, I thought, a couple times, maybe at the end of the game. And I think sometimes that is where a lot of the frustrations with this Eagles team on the offensive side, even though they just keep putting up points, I felt like the same kind of song that we've sung throughout this year is run the ball. is when times are going tough, just run the ball. You have a plus, 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 plus run game. Just lean on it. And sometimes they just kind of lose their rhythm. And I think today they found some rhythm in that second half. And also they're picking on Rasul Douglas a little bit on those play action stuff. They know that he wasn't really falling off on everything. So they just kept hitting Devontae Smith behind him a couple times and in the run game as well. So I thought they found it, but I feel like they can find it earlier. And I think it's always ending up being the same answer.
It's so funny that we always expect them to find some sort of answer over the course of the game.
Yeah.
We just get frustrated about how long it takes every once in a while. But this was the perfect game to just lean on the run game
Yeah.
because your light
Sloppy,
boxes,
like you
they're
said.
playing zone almost every single snap
Yep.
because they're going to make him read it out. And rather than do that, it's like, all right, well, if you're going to let us run it, then we're just going to continue to run it. So it absolutely worked out in the second half. All this being said about the Eagles' consistent ability to find answers on offense and kind of pull things out in the end, which they have done consistently over the last 2 years. They're 1 or 2 Bills missteps away from losing this game because of the way the Bills move the ball on offense and specifically the way that Josh Allen played. I know how this is going to go because this is always how it goes. He throws the pick on the trap coverage in the second half, and that is going to be talked about to death because it was a high-profile interception. He was incredible today.
Yeah.
He was insane today. He accounted for 22 first downs in this game. Okay. He added about a touchdown worth of EPA on scrambles. He had 61 yards on scrambles and about 5 points of EPA as a runner. He affected the game in every possible way. And for the most part, over the course of the first, 3 quarters, it really did seem like he was just in fuck you mode and he was not going to allow them to lose this game. And then 1, 2, 3 bounces of the ball and we're here again. And the Bills are 500, and it truly does feel like their season is starting to slip away.
Man, and it's just that offense. Okay, so the defense, this is what the Eagles did in the second half. They went punt, touchdown, 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 punt, field goal, touchdown. So that's how the defense played. But then the offense, you watch Josh Allen. This is weather tailor-made for Josh Allen. This is where his traits shine through.
It's insane that he was playing this way and throwing the ball this way in a downpour. It shouldn't make sense.
He was in the touchdown to Diggs before the end of the half was truly him playground in the pocket because that was a second window read and he's supposed to throw in the first window and he just hangs and he's not supposed to go there. He had 2 answers. He had a crosser underneath and then I think Dalton Kincaid to the boundary and he just waits to the second window. He was truly going, I'm willing this throw and this touchdown right now. That was truly throwing a guy open because he waited to the second window and puts it on him. The whole sequence even before that, because there's a turnover right before that, I believe. They had the drive before that. His 2-minute drive was insane. Like the 3rd and 6, steps in between 2 rushers, hits the route to Stephon Diggs, hits Kincaid with Byard one-on-one, hits a wheel route. Like he hit several wheel routes today, like as the Eagles corners were dropping like 20 yards deep and he's still hitting them. It was just, he was insane. This was the perfect weather game for him to just showcase what he could be.
Even on the drive in overtime, he had 2 3rd and 9 conversions. He had the missile to Gabe Davis on the first one, where it looked like he was trying to stick it in his face mask. And then he had the scramble to the left. And if there's not a slight miscommunication with Gabe Davis, where he starts taking it back to the back corner instead of taking it straight up.
And I understand why he did that too. And that's what stinks. It's like Gabe Davis isn't like completely wrong. It was just that he picked a lesser of 2 answers. And that's what stinks. And it's like, I get it. It's just, that's what happens when you get heat up.
Joe Brady's reaction in that moment, it was just classic. And I'll remember him sitting there and he kind of sits back in his chair for people who didn't say it. And he goes, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because they knew they had it. Yeah. They knew they had it. And if that play is completed, that's a touchdown. And they are probably on their way to really making a potential run or kind of squeezing their way into the wild card race. And now that becomes much more difficult. Before we dig into kind of the bigger picture implications here, have to shout out what Jake Elliott did in that moment. We don't talk a lot about kickers on this show. A 59-yarder, that one iron that he just spanks just over the crossbar. That is one of the best kicks I have ever seen. In that situation, when they were moving backwards because of the very weird Jason Kelce penalties on that drive, where he gets 2 false starts for flinching, which it's almost like your little brother, like here's 2 for flinching. He did it twice. That was such a weird set of moments, and it does not matter because Jake Elliott bangs that thing home in a game where Tyler Bass missed 2 field goals.
Yes.
So the difference in the kickers ends up becoming a huge moment in this game, which just feels right for how this Eagles season and how this Bills season has gone.
Yeah, and just oh my god, the as soon as he boomed it, that thing like it tailed right, and then it just like it went on a straight line. Like you said, that was a one iron. That I've seen Tiger Woods hit that same shot. I don't know if it was a I don't know if it was in the rain like that, but I think this Eagles team has gotten challenged by the class of the AFC, even if the Bills have been, kind of beaten up recently. And I mean, they just find these answers, and it's because they have a kicker that can kick that stuff. It's like someone steps up every time with this team. It's like, their players on defense will step up at big moments. Slay had a couple big plays. So it's like that's again, they just win with this kind of sheer talent. Everyone steps up. It's like, yeah, have they gotten a fluke? I don't know. You feel like some could go the other way, but it's like they're still only have one loss. It's like pretty ridiculous what they keep doing every single week.
Yeah, and they're going to be tested down the back half of the season. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. They got a lot of these coming in the second half of the year, but I'm consistently impressed with their ability to kind of find something in these close games. And no matter who it is, no matter how they do it, no matter which side of the ball, it consistently keeps coming up. Any issue with the AJ Brown incompletion? I know people are going to be talking a lot about that over the next 24 hours or so. That felt like an incomplete pass to me. I have no issue with the way that they ruled it. It just seemed like the right call in that moment.
Yeah. No, I understood why it was again the classic, like whatever it's called on the field. They probably roll with that. Like, yeah, I got nothing with that.
So now the Bills sitting at 6-6. They are the 10 seed in the AFC.
Crazy.
They are behind all those teams that are 6-5 right now. I mean, you can list them off. They're behind the Colts. They're behind the Texans. They're behind the Broncos. And you'd think, all right, they're only one game back of the Steelers and the Browns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Game and a half, because they've played 12 games. They have a bye next week. They're a game and a half back. They're 2 back in the loss column. The Browns offense is going to be an issue for the rest of the year. We'll see what happens with the Steelers. We'll talk about them in a little bit. I don't think that the firing of Matt Canada necessarily solved all of their problems offensively. The Colts are, we'll see. They've been a really good story, but are they a team like the Bills? Probably not. You feel like because of how good they are, especially on offense, they'd be able to make up some of this ground. But the schedule they continue to have to play is brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the Chiefs here in the back half of the season. They have the Dolphins again. They have the Cowboys on December 17th, and they play against the Chargers, who, for all of their ills, it's not going to be an easy game.
No.
So it's just such a tough road. And it really does feel like it was this game that could swing their season back the other direction, and coming away with a loss when it felt so often over the course of the day that they were outplaying them, that they were going to win this game, is just a absolutely heartbreaking way for this thing to end.
They needed a bye more than almost any other team. Said that a couple of weeks ago. So they're finally getting that. But how this defense played last week, they got the Zach Wilson boost. But then again, this week, I thought they played inspired. I thought they played smart. I saw the spine making a lot of good calls and checks. The talent won out, of course, with the Eagles offense. But I thought for 2.25 quarters that they played really good ball. And again, it's the offense made a couple, they just don't get all the way over the top, even with Josh Allen just going berserk and having some nice designs. But it's like they're going to hang in these games, because I thought the defense did play inspired ball, where I feel better about them. Remember a couple of weeks ago where I was like, not how I see them right now.
I know what you're saying, but at the same time, the fact that they could not get a stop down the stretch.
No, absolutely not.
It's just tough.
Yeah,
I'm with you that I think that down in and down out, I would have felt better about them moving forward.
Yeah.
But for them to have that game that they had on offense and put up all those points and still lose,
right?
It feels appropriate based on how the defense has played for most of the season.
No, and all right. One scheme thing to wrap this up, though, it was pretty cool by the Bills, because it was a great baiting the Eagles into a check to get it. It was the design QB run, Josh Allen touchdown. It was out of empty. It was just the QB draw. Both teams did this. Big play today was the QB draws on both sides of the ball out of empty. But they baited this play because they started with Stephon Diggs in the backfield. So the Eagles went, well, screw that. Zone check. Okay. We're not going to mess with that man coverage. And then they motion Stephon Diggs out and get into empty. And then he gets into the QB draw. So it was baited that zone check out of it. I was like, that was nice. I like that. And then, Josh Allen just carries Fletcher Cox into the end zone to score a touchdown. So it's like that puts it over the top. That's a cherry on top, but nice little design there. I like that in the red zone.
Last thing, quarterback draw wise, Mailata comes out after the game and says, we cannot believe they were in that look. Like, we do this all the time in this area of the field. We
Yeah.
cannot believe they were in that look. And again, just kind of a strike against what that defense has been for the most
Oh,
part during this season. And the fact that it was that juicy in the biggest moment of the game, again,
yes.
after they rip off another swift run into one of those light boxes, just consistently frustrating.
And they played it well earlier. They played the QB draw. It was a different look. It wasn't the empty one that they got to. But yeah, they show that all the time. It was in last year's Super Bowl. It was the week before against the Chiefs, but it was the perfect snapshot of this Bills team. They do so well and then they lose their heads right at the biggest moment. And it's like they bring a blitz in that moment. So yeah, it was just they lost their heads again.
Don't want to have to do it now. I mean, there's no reason to kind of dig their grave when there's this much left to play and this team is this good. But there's a discussion to be had about this era of the Buffalo Bills and the door potentially closing. Your Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer
Yeah.
kind of built team that really rose this team up from the ashes, made them relevant, made them consistently a contender. It does feel like that stretch of Buffalo Bills football is slipping away and has slipped away potentially with them losing this game. But we'll have plenty of time to dig into that